7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are sitting here in the virtual Zoom studio, and Spike, I like your little directing skills there.
Yeah, you never come in on cue, so I figured I had to kind of.
I'm more of an improv guy. I'm not a serious method actor. So.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't know, Token, if you can see this, but I don't know if it's Spike's air conditioning, but it's blowing his little alfalfa hair in the back of his head.
He's got his little Trump toupee going on.
Yeah, a little bit. He's got a little Trump toupee.
So when the quarantine started, I had just gotten my hair cut back in late February to start the new job. The quarantine started, and I said, you know what, this is only going on for a couple of months. I'm not going to get my hair cut until we're going back to the office. Well, I just found out we may not be going back to our offices until January. So I'm trying to determine if I actually want to stick to being that stubborn and still not get my hair cut during the quarantine, which will be essentially 11 months worth of hair growth, which I haven't done in a long, long time.
You know what the crazy thing is? If we let this play out until like December, we might actually see Spike look like Gritty.
Nobody wants to see that.
I do. I'm in. I mean, yeah, he's freaky looking, but that's why we leave him on the bottom of the Zoom meeting.
I'm changing
everybody's favorite mascot
work email headshots to Gritty now. It was Chewbacca for a while, but now it'll be Gritty.
Yeah, the longer you let the top grow, I think you got a Gritty vibe going on here. So
yeah, no, I think you're right. Well, that's the problem. My hair's curly, so it grows like out and up. It doesn't like drop, so it wouldn't cover my face like Gritty does.
That's fair. Well, maybe you can straighten it out. I'm sure your wife has some kind of tool in the bathroom that can straighten your hair out. I think all girls have that.
Probably.
Unless they're bald. Anyways, Token, what's up, brother?
Not much. Just been watching some baseball scores and all that and hoping for some bets to come in.
What a weird episode. Token has nothing to say, and somehow Spike has an anecdote when he never wants to tell.
I know!
It's completely opposite.
It is opposite day. I'm turning on more lights. Hang on. All right, there we go.
I will tell you all this. I don't know how much you guys have been keeping up, Spike. I know you're still working and everything, but I kind of dig playoff hockey all day long for the last, 6 days or so. It's been such a treat. Everything they've done, I feel like the NHL has done what I call the Disney World method. And what that means is that, like, I feel like when you go to Disney World, Disney leaves no stone unturned in an effect to give you the most magical experience. I mean, they've got pumped-in crowd noise that's on cue. They've got the goal songs. They've got the home announcers who announce the scoring for your such and such, and then they break off to their announcers. But they've literally made this such a treat to watch. I mean, even their little troll jobs on the scoreboard. Like, I don't know if you guys saw these. Like, please, once the game is finished, exit your couch and enjoy your night. You know, the other one at the Lightning and Capitals game, they put on the Jumbotron. Tonight's attendance 0. I mean, they're little jokes. I mean, they're good. I think they're hitting. They're hitting right now.
My favorite was reminder, the wave is strictly prohibited.
That was a good one, too, yeah. I mean...
I like that one quite a bit. No, I've been enjoying these games quite a bit. The problem for me is, you know, because the games are going on during the workday, that sometimes I have to watch. Luckily, I have the 3 monitors set up here, so I can watch on one screen and still do my work on the other 2. But there was the Knights and Stars game. I was actually in a Zoom call with my boss and 2 of my coworkers. And remember, I'm still new to this office. I've only been there a few months, and for the most part, hockey was shut down while we were in the quarantine while we've been home. So they didn't really know how much of a fan I was until in the middle of the meeting when the Knights gave up a goal. We're talking about, you know, setting something up online. I'm like, oh yeah, all we have to do is this. And God damn it, play some fucking defense, will you? And I just lost my camera and my keyboard. That was fun.
All right. Well, technical difficulties.
Yep. So that's a good one.
I don't know what's more funny.
The story or what just happened as a result of him telling the story?
I think it was the result of what happened with his name just popping up.
Oh, most definitely. Well, while he works to get while he works to get his video feed back on here, let's let you know that we are obviously produced and sponsored by 12 Ounce Sports, where we are airing every Wednesday and every Saturday. Wednesday, obviously Token, myself, and obviously Mr. Tony Johnson, and sometimes a guest, have our golf podcasts Wednesdays at 11 p.m. Eastern time, and Saturdays, as you see here, you're watching us at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We have our hot sports takes with the three of us, the three stooges here. Y'all better there, Spike?
Yeah, I don't quite know what happened, but
Your hair look
I
a
fixed
little more messed up now.
yeah, well, you know.
Well, we're
I'll
going to
just start
talk.
to pull it out.
We're going to talk some hockey in here again, but also if you have not yet, please download Zingo TV app to your cell phone or your smart TV. And if you want a free account, please use the promo code 120Z while you're signing up. And again, it is 100% free. You can catch us and all the shows on channel 761, the 12 Ounce Sports channel. All right. So first thing I've been thinking about, it just kind of came down the wire. Edmonton was eliminated by Chicago. By the way, little pat on the back here. I didn't officially make the Chicago bet because Spike talked me out of it last week. But I'd like to give myself a pat on the back for calling both Chicago and Montreal to move on in this round. I told you the motivation factor is going to be weird in two teams that didn't belong in the playoffs. But no. I mean, they caught teams that haven't played in 4 months, and Corey Crawford looked far better than I would have ever have given him credit for.
Yes.
Yeah, and Chicago played out of their minds, and Edmonton looked lackluster, and to the point where I have started to hear trade rumors involving McDavid, because that team needs to be better, and they need to start by getting better on the back end. You need a better goalie. Koskinen is not the answer.
Correct.
And
Mike
they need
Smith's
more
not
defensive
either.
help. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have a great team. They have two really, really great players. And unfortunately, I would say I liken this to Mike Trout with the Angels. I think they're wasting the prime of these guys. And and you know what you could say? You could argue the other point, the devil's advocate point. Well, they should be that good to be able to carry the rest of this load. But you're right, the rest of the team is not good.
Yeah,
if they've skimped on goalies. Talbot was okay for a while a couple of years ago, but they've skimped on goalies. And you're right. I mean, honestly, I look at the trade rumors as maybe Connor McDavid saying, I want to leave. I want to compete. I mean, you're depriving him and you're depriving NHL fans of seeing him in, Western Conference Finals, Stanley Cup Finals. The Pacific Division's not that strong.
Pacific Division is terrible. The Golden Knights won it with, I forget how many points.
93, something like that.
And it would have been good. They would have been third place in every other division.
Yeah, I mean it's not like he's not putting up the points.
Yeah.
The Pacific's been weak for a few years now. So it's just they're just a very underachieving team, and I don't think Connor McDavid appreciates it. But the other with the other shoe is that he could just try to own up to this. I don't know what the fix is. They've got a lot of guys under contract. They just paid Nurse. They've got Draisaitl, who's good. I mean, you got to start unloading. Maybe I don't know. Do you have to unload Draisaitl? I think that might be too much, but I don't know what you do to start. I mean, Draisaitl, correct me if I'm wrong. I have to look up his contract. Draisaitl's making a shade under McDavid's money.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it's within like $1.5 million or something.
Yeah, and I mean, the problem is going to be the return. And you have to make sure that whatever you're getting back for the guy isn't just a salary dump. You need to make sure that whatever you get is reasonable. And I heard somebody say, what would the package be if Vegas went after either McDavid or Draisaitl? And I said, Jesus Christ, it would have to be Fleury because he's still under contract, even though he's old. You'd have to give up White Cloud. You'd probably have to give up another defensive prospect like Haig or Bischoff. Maybe another prospect and a couple of draft picks in order to get one of those guys from Edmonton.
But that's the question, Token, with the salary cap in the NHL. If Vegas were to go for a guy like that, then you're talking about, are we talking about that team being blown up? You know, I mean, you look at this team: Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, James Neal, Athanasiou. I mean, you got a couple guys that might be good in a few years, like Kyler Yamamoto. But I just feel like this team, every year we talk about, I mean, even as Knights fans, we were talking to Ken. He's like, I'm worried about Edmonton. And Edmonton seems to have VGK's number. I don't want to liken this just to VGK, but, it just seems like, when we asked Ken from the Sin Bin, who are you most worried about in the playoffs? He said Edmonton. I mean, obviously now is he then, by the transitive property, worried about Chicago? I mean, could you imagine VGK and Chicago play, Corey Crawford goes down, and Malcolm Subban has to be in goal against the Vegas Golden Knights?
How ironic!
And he beats them.
That'd be the VGK's worst nightmare.
I'm not gonna lie. I want VGK to win any series in the Western Conference that they have. But if Malcolm Subban beats the Vegas Golden Knights in a 7-game series, as a supporter of Malcolm Subban, I would feel huge vindication. And for him, because I thought he got such a bad rap here, including from the guy that's like right there.
We would go from the top of people's respect list to towards the bottom. We'd be hanging in there with Detroit, I think.
Nah, I don't know about all that, but I mean, if they got swept.
Yeah, but I would say even losing Game 7 in overtime to Subban.
Well, look at it this way. If the Golden Knights win, which I think by this point where it's aired, we record on Friday, we'll know if the Golden Knights are the 1 seed. If they're Golden Knights are the 1 seed, they're playing Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we probably are going to get the Golden Knights and the Chicago Blackhawks, provided that they beat Colorado. I know they're a dog to Colorado, and again, this has already happened, so we would already. I'm just saying, my clairvoyant property. Seeing, could you see? I mean, Corey Crawford's always an injury away. I mean, he's Mr. Glass right now. So,
no, I think Vegas's team to be most concerned about in the playoffs is the one that they're facing tomorrow. So,
sure, but I mean, Draisaitl's making $8.5 million. I feel with his talents, and he's 24 years old. He's 1 year older than Connor McDavid. With Leon Draisaitl's talents and his contract situation, he's under contract at an AAV of 8.5 until 2024, 2025. He might fetch a better haul and still keep Edmonton competitive depending on what they bring back, like you're talking about. Because don't forget, they also have a 12.5% chance of landing the number 1 pick in this year's draft. And Alexis Lafreniere is the next allegedly Crosby McDavid kind of player.
How gross would that be if they get the number 1 overall seed?
How gross would that be if they get the number 1 overall pick? This guy develops into a stud. They've got 3 studs on their team, and they still underachieve.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. It's just a weird spot to me. Like, I mean, which one is more of a disappointment? The loss, the Pittsburgh, or the Edmonton? Because I feel like it's Edmonton, but Pittsburgh's just as guilty in this spot. I think Pittsburgh.
It's Pittsburgh. It's Pittsburgh by a mile. It's Pittsburgh. I mean, I know the Chicago shouldn't have been there, but they have Crawford, they have Taves, they have Kane. Doc is unbelievable. He's one of the few people in this league that I think is worthy of wearing number 77. And you know how protective of that number I am because of my affinity for Ray Bourque.
Herbie Doc is pretty good, yeah. I like that guy.
It's like, Chicago, as bad as they were, should have at least been competitive. Montreal stinks. They're just fucking terrible. They shouldn't have even been in this tournament. And the fact that they beat a Pittsburgh team, the only reason to remember that Pittsburgh didn't get into the round robin is because they had all those injuries during the season that they couldn't recover from. They were healthy going into this. They should have mopped the floor with Montreal with the talent they have on that team. But they just couldn't do it.
I just wonder, Token, if because they've got the cups, are they going to get a pass here? They seem like they are. I mean, I look through Twitter right now. I look through Twitter right now, and it's all Edmonton, including myself. I piled on.
I mean, in my opinion, Edmonton was playing the much harder team of the two. I mean, Calgary, Talbot is freaking phenomenal at goalie, in my opinion. I mean, I think he's probably one of the most underrated.
I'm looking into the past here when Cam Talbot was actually on Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cam,
yeah.
yeah, Cam Talbot does not play for the Edmonton Oilers currently. It's Koskinen, but I don't know his first name. Mika Koskinen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Some Finnish name.
I think Talbot's on the Flames.
Yeah.
How did you get on the Flames?
I don't know.
Uh,
I was watching the Flames earlier, and that got me all confused now.
Whew.
All right, so let's wrap that back up. So I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Which was the bigger disappointment?
Yeah, the bigger disappointment, Edmonton or Pittsburgh?
I would say Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I think that Pittsburgh's kind of getting away with this. This reminds me of the year that the Red Sox and the Braves both went into like the last month of the season in MLB, had like 15-game leads, I think, in their respective divisions, and they both blew the leads. And the Red Sox got shit on for weeks, and the Braves were just like slid under the radar.
Mhm.
You don't even remember it. So, yeah, I'm curious. I mean, if Pittsburgh gets the number one seed, or you keep got me saying seed. If Pittsburgh gets the number one pick. If Pittsburgh gets the number one pick in this draft, I mean, they're literally going to just turn Crosby over into Lafreniere, and Crosby's probably still got 5 more good years left in him too. It's the crazy thing. But let's take a look at some of these other opening rounds. Carolina had no trouble. I don't know if you guys watched this series. Carolina had no trouble with the Rangers. Another team, like we talked about, I know we all picked Carolina. I believe we all picked Carolina in this series. I thought it'd go 5. New York was never in this series, in my opinion.
Yeah, it wasn't competitive. It was, and we saw this in Carolina last year because remember they took the Bruins pretty deep in that Eastern Conference Final last year. So we knew that Carolina was a better team. Dougie Hamilton not being available definitely hurt, but I think it's one of those spots where it's just the Rangers put up no fight whatsoever, and Carolina had their way with them. Svechnikov is just sickening how good he is.
Yeah, him, Aho, that's a good line right there.
Oh, it's deadly. Absolutely deadly.
Now, Token, what do you think about the fact that Mrazek went the first 2 in this series, and then they went with Reimer in Game 3? Were they kind of like taking a game off just in case? But Reimer, I mean, obviously Reimer looked really good. He stopped 37 shots in Game 3 and this one in a 4-1 victory. But I don't love the thought of, and again, I know that the Knights have this option. I think they have this option with two far superior goalies than Carolina does. But I think Carolina going forward's got to pick a guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Reimer is definitely the better long-term situation. I think Mrazek makes too many minor errors, especially going out of the crease and going behind the net, trying to make cutesy kind of plays, and just gets caught in bad situations for it.
Yeah, what do you think, Spike? I mean, if you were the coach, if you were Brendan Moore, you go with Mrazek. I mean, Mrazek didn't do anything poorly. I mean, yes, in the Rangers game, he did have in the first game of the series against the Rangers, he did kind of have a boneheaded mistake in the second period there. But I mean, overall, I would say Mrazek looked fine in 2 games. Reimer looked really good. I mean, going into the next round, you're facing one of the top 4 teams left. Depending on who it's going to be, but I don't love the goalie carousel necessarily in playoff hockey. I think you've got to find your guy and instill confidence in him. So which one would you take?
Yeah, and I think you're right in playoff hockey because it's a different animal that you want that steadiness. You want that guy that you can depend on, and you want to be able to know who's going to be in net every night because that's going to help your defense. So I think Mrazek's the guy. But again, I say that as a Boston fan, and I still remember Reimer blowing Game 7 in 2013 for the Maple Leafs. So for me, until he proves that he can handle those big pressure situations again, I think Mrazek has to be the starter. But I think regular season, I have no problem doing the rotation. I think it makes total sense.
Oh, of course. I agree with that as well. All right, so let's look at the Islanders in Florida. Spike, you did pick the Islanders to win this series, and I know you have a futures ticket on the Islanders. So they were able to handle the Panthers relatively easily, even though the Panthers did get a game. What did you guys see in this one? I thought the thing that surprised me is the ability, and I've seen probably more Islanders games than a lot of people on the West Coast here, just because I had some buddies who were Islanders fans, and with the NHL package I was able to watch. The thing I noticed about the Islanders season is they struggled to score, but not in this series. But you were right. They still gave up nothing as this is their MO. But if this is an Islanders team that can put up 4 goals a game, 5 goals a game, they could. Your ticket looks pretty good.
Oh yeah, that would be sickening if the Islanders can find their defense, because they can shred the defenses of Washington, maybe Tampa Bay, definitely Philadelphia. They would get nothing past the Islanders. I think a couple of these teams might be a difficult challenge for them, but it was before the play-in series started, I said that this is the one series I was really looking forward to, because it was the offensive, not juggernaut, but the offensive power of Florida versus the defensive power of the Islanders, and which one was going to hold. Turns out it was the Islanders. So if they can continue to play like this, especially with what's his name, the coach whose name I can never remember, the guy from was Washington's coach, Trotz. Yeah. Thank you. His game plan, that vision, the way that they're putting this team together, they are strong. They are scary good. And yes, I do have that futures ticket, and I have from our picks of the games. Oh no, Bobby Aitchins has the Islanders. That's right. He screwed me on that. I wanted to pick them.
Oh yeah, who do we have? Tokens are both gone, right?
Token had the Rangers and Winnipeg, so thanks for that, Token, for $10.
Early exit.
Bobby Ninechins has the Islanders.
He's got 9 now.
Yeah. I think every time I say his name, I'm going to increase and add another chin.
He's got Islanders and Flames.
So he has the Islanders and the Flames. Aaron, you have Carolina and Edmonton, and I have the Blue Jackets. Speaking of blowing games, they blew it Jackets.
Holy cow!
And I have the Arizona Desert Dogs, who are
soon to be the Houston Desert Dogs.
Houston doesn't need another fast baseball team.
All right, we're just gonna gloss over that one. I was just about to give you kudos for picking Arizona, but now I feel like those offset each other. But no, congrats for picking Arizona in your series.
I'll be right back. Oh. Keep going. These are Bluetooth. I can still talk. This is a very important thing that needs to be addressed. Hang on.
Are you putting a mask on?
A dump would have been better.
I'm worried that Token's stupidity is contagious, so I want to make sure I don't touch anything.
Oh, I was going to cut this out, but I think I should leave this in.
Yeah.
Pretty says, enough. Wear your mask.
It's unbelievable.
It still goes through your beard, though.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. The beard kind of hangs out the bottom. I can't wear the N95 masks because the beard pushes it out too much, so I have to wear these things.
Have you seen those little bubbles? Somebody took a picture of it looked like a DMV or some kind of government building, and these people were sitting. Their arms were out, and there was a sealed. So you could stick your arms out. It was like an incubator, like a reverse incubator. Instead of sticking your arms in, you stick your arms out, and everything else was shielded. And I'm like, how do you sit in that thing? Anyway, I don't know. But
sounds awful.
It looked ridiculous, but I guess they feel they'd rather be safer than sorry. So,
no.
All right. So let's look at this with Pittsburgh. I mean, we're not talking about let's flip back to that. We're not talking about Pittsburgh and talking about dismantling the team, firing the coach, because Todd McClellan in Edmonton, that guy never succeeds, but somehow he keeps getting jobs. What do you do with that team, though? I mean, Evgeny Malkin's getting old, Sidney Crosby's getting up there. It's not like you have Draisaitl and McDavid, who are 23 and 24. I mean, Crosby and Malkin are older, and Phil Kessel's gone, and the young guys, Gensel, aren't really stepping up to be – I know it's hard to be Sidney Crosby, but they aren't stepping up to be playmakers and leaders. They're still having to be facilitated. So I'm wondering if – this might be a crazy, weird take, but I'm wondering if Pittsburgh is actually hindered by Sidney Crosby in the ability to develop their young guys.
I think possible. That's a possibility, but
I mean, the kid's the best facilitator in the game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disrespecting him in that way, but I wonder if that stunts the growth of these guys from being better hockey players.
Maybe. I mean, I think, yeah, I think they're more stunted by the fact that they have both Crosby and Malkin, because it's not giving the young guys a chance to move up in lines, especially if they have younger centers that they want to develop, because they're never going to be able to unseat Crosby or Malkin at this point. So they need to find a way to get those young kids some more playing time. Playing on the third and fourth lines ain't going to cut it, especially when they need to develop them sooner rather than later, because Malkin and Crosby are, I don't know how long they have left in the tank, but it can't be that much longer.
No, and I mean, picking up Jason Zucker wasn't a terrible addition, but then you have Patrick Marleau, who has like terrible playoff luck. Doesn't matter where he goes. He has the worst playoff luck. He is never going to get a cup, but he just seems to be going to the wrong teams. But he's going to try.
No, I'm with you on Zucker. I actually wanted him on Vegas, especially because he is from Vegas. Well, born in Vegas, but grew up somewhere else. But Vegas is still going to claim Zucker as one of their own,
right?
As evidenced by the 20-foot banner they have in the skating rink at the Fiesta Rancho, which I don't even know if that's still a casino anymore. But
I don't know if it is either.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that I think is a nice piece, but you can't build a team around him.
No.
Crosby and Malkin are the guys you build teams around, and they just don't have that. I mean, those guys are tough to get, obviously, but you had two. You should be able to find another one somewhere along the lines, or make a trade, or do something.
That might be where Lafreniere comes in too.
Yeah,
or sign Yager as a free agent.
For fuck's sake.
Can I have a mask?
I mean, even if you sign him, he's good for the locker room, I think, in my opinion.
By what? Sleeping with all their wives?
Well, that takes them less away from the sport of hockey. So
that is true. You made a true statement, so I applaud you for that.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, so we've got pretty much the next round set. We've got a couple games. Again, I believe, as we're speaking right now, Vancouver and Minnesota are 4-3 going into the third period for that game, and we might get another series. So Sunday we get, correct me if I'm wrong, Sunday we get that Toronto and Blue Jackets series. Who's going to win that one? Who's taking that one? Toronto choking again? I'm taking Columbus. I'm taking Columbus. I know it's tough. Their confidence has to be in shambles right now, but they've been the better team most of this series.
They have. And, as we've been in the quarantine, as we've been in these unprecedented times, the one thing that would give us a sense of normalcy is Toronto collapsing in the playoffs.
In a Game 5/Game 7 type.
Exactly. So I think that would be a nice little pickup for the Blue Jackets. They were able to do it because they beat a much better team last year in Tampa Bay and they're struggling with this Toronto team right now. And I think one of the things that's going to weigh heavily on that, and especially the way that I plan on betting it, because I am going to put action on that, is whether Werenski is good to go or not, because he left about halfway through the third period. And aside from Seth Jones, they have nobody else worthwhile on defense. So if Werenski can't go, then that Columbus team may be in trouble. And I think whoever they start in goal, which I'm not convinced it's going to be Elvis, but if it is, whoever they start in goal is going to have a very short leash, because Tortorella doesn't fuck around with that kind of thing.
That's fair.
Yeah. In that game, give me Columbus. I don't trust Toronto at this point.
Speaking of not trusting Toronto, how the hell is – I mean, I know that obviously – there's not a ton of options out there, but I think they got to do something about Frederik Andersen next year. That guy's atrocious, and it's killing this team.
He
score 6, give up 7. Yeah. That's their MO right now.
Yeah, he's just I don't know what's wrong with him. I mean, I'd rather take Mrazek at this point than him, in my opinion.
Oh,
and you hate Mrazek.
I do hate Mrazek, but you can't trust Anderson. I mean, you can trust him to give up goals.
Yeah.
That's fair. So.
I'm with you on that. The problem is Toronto is a lot like Edmonton in that they spent all of their money on the frontline offense and nothing on defense or goaltending. So,
Yeah.
with the maybe exception of Tyson Barrie is a defender that you can hopefully develop and build around, even though I have no idea how old he is. But
I mean, Morgan Riley's solid. I know he is probably the one.
But the problem is I think he's either a free agent this year or next year, and they still have to, they're still paying Matthews, they're paying Tavares, they have to pay Mitch Marner. Where are they going to get the money to pay Riley? And what's his name? Willie, the guy that scored the first goal tonight, Willie Nylander. They're going to have to pay him too.
No, he's locked up for 5 years. They paid him. Didn't he hold out? I thought they paid him. Nylander. Yeah, he's signed until 24.
Oh, okay.
I want to say he held out earlier this year or last year. Yeah,
sounds about right.
I mean, they've got their top 4 guys: Nylander, Marner, Matthews, and Tavares are pretty much signed until 24. So I mean, you're right. It's still going to be tough. O'Reilly's got 3 more years after this, and then they've got Jake Muzzin as well, who just re-signed, who obviously took a devastating hit. That kind of hurts, but I mean, Frederik Andersen, $5 million. I'd ship him out. I'd try to find a way. I don't even mind their backup goalie, giving him a shot. Jack Campbell, he's 28 years old. He can do what Frederik Andersen can do, and he only makes just under $1 million. So.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I think you need to save the money. You call up a rookie, you do something, and then you spend whatever you have left on defense, and you just try to get better.
Yeah.
But that's all you can do.
But as long as Toronto sucks, I'm happy, so we're good.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I'm fine with it too.
All right, well, let's wrap it up here. Oh, did you have something more?
No, I was saying absolutely, yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. I love talking hockey. I mean, NHL playoffs, especially. I think the NHL, again, I've said this last week, is of the 3 sports in action, they're the ones doing it right. From everything to the presentation of the game, hockey in general. Obviously, I have it over baseball and basketball, but I think everything they're doing right, and just kudos to the NHL. I don't think they get it enough, and I don't know if it's necessarily straight from the mouth of the office of Gary Bettman, but him down to the whole crew. They've put on a fantastic show, and I hope that continues in these bubbles. And again, just another kudos to the NHL for that. And all right, so that's it. We appreciate you watching, listening, wherever you're on YouTube, on the Zingo TV. If you caught this on our webpage, lvsquares.com. Again, want to thank our sponsors, 12 Ounce. Want to thank Zingo TV. Want to thank Vice Golf. Want to thank Fanatics. Want to thank Pro-Am Customs, DC Custom Tees, and our last sponsor, Wicked Cuts Jerky as well. So for Spike, which is funny, Spike, I actually said you in the golf podcast last week.
Yes.
You weren't even there, but I missed you.
Apparently.
For Spike, for Token Tony, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening. We will catch you on the next episode.